How's it going, guys? What's up? And you know what time it is. On the first of every year, I upload a gear review. I do this every year, and last year I felt like it's kind of pointless, but I did it out of tradition. And this year it is a little bit more, how should I say? This year it's a little bit more relevant, I guess, because a lot of changes have been made to the gear that I use and what I'm doing, especially in very recent days. So we're going to start out with the drum set as always. And we're going to start with my drums. These are Tama Superstar Classic maple drums. It comes in a 7-piece with 8-inch tom, 10, 12, 14, 16, 22-inch kick drum, and a 14-inch snare. But in this particular setup, I'm using the 12-inch tom and the 16-inch floor tom with the 22-inch kick. And then my snare drum, I'm using the Pearl Joey Jordison snare drum. Yeah, it's like my go-to snare for everything. It just does everything I want and crank it up, make it super fat. It's a jack of all trades kind of drum for me. The heads I'm running, so I know you can't really see, but the drum heads on my snare drum, I have an Evans heavyweight coated on the top, and then on the bottom I have an Evans 300 snare side. On the toms, on the top, I have EC2 clears, and then on the bottoms, I have Ebony Ambassadors, Remo Ambassadors, my favorite resonant drum heads. Are the clear ambassadors, but I went with the ebonies because they look better on stage, and I kind of like the way they look through the drum and stuff, where it's, you can't really see through the floor. That's really nice, especially because I put stuff under my drums because I record in my new room, and it's not a very big room, so, you can't see through my drums and what's under it. Um, on the kick drum, I have an Evans EMAD heavyweight, and with the thick and reinforcement ring tuned super low, super punchy. On the other side, I have the clear, like the clear kick drum head that comes on the Tama kit, the whatever the Tama head is, because my resonant head, which is over there, the one I normally use, is all messed up from not really taking care of my drums at shows. So I put the other one there for recording, and it sounds a lot better. So now let's talk about my cymbals. Well, we will go left to right. Here on the very, very far left, I have a nice stack. So I have this Sabian AA 17-inch Holy China on the bottom, flipped upside down, as you can see, flipped upside down. And then on the top, I have a cracked AAX Thin Crash 17-inch, the natural finish, and that alone makes a really fat stack sound. Then on top, I just threw on my HHX Evolution Splash, which is normally my main slash, but I just threw it on the top, and it shortened up the sound a little bit, and yeah, it's a really nice, quick stack. Great for the stack purposes that I use it for. Over here on my Sabian 15-inch XSR Monarch hi-hats. These are my favorite hi-hats I've owned so far. They're just the sound that I like out of my hi-hats. They got a really trashy open sound. They got a nice chick, and then a really tight closed sound. Everything I could want. Up here, I'm using a Sabian HHX 20-inch thin crash on my far left crash. Yeah, and it's the lowest pitch crash that I have. I don't use it very much because it's a little bit too low pitched. Sometimes it doesn't really cut through like I want it to, but I got it on this rendition of my drum set. This is the only Paiste cymbal I have on my drum set left. This is the Paiste Alpha Hyper Splash. It's actually the edition that the black edition that they put out with Joey Jordison's logo, the Slipknot logo on it, I mean. And that's the last Paiste on my drum set. I do want to replace it with a Sabian. So now over here, I have the Sabian HHX 21-inch thin ride. This is my favorite ride cymbal right now, mostly because of how it crashes and just the crash sound is just brilliant. It crashes a lot like just a really big crash cymbal, like a 21-inch crash cymbal, but it can ride and it has a nice bell. I'm not using it though right now. I'm using it only as a crash in this setup. I could ride on it, I guess, to differ from this ride, but that's what I got going on. Then I have the 6-inch Sabian ice bell on top. It's a good bell sound. I want another one just to have another one, obviously a different size. And then right here is a Sabian ride cymbal. It was the first ever ride cymbal I've ever owned. And I don't really know what it is. I just know it has the Sabian logo on the bottom of it, but I'm pretty sure that it's a B8 Pro ride. Just because it's like just a cheaper feeling and sounding cymbal, but I didn't want to put one of my Paiste rides up. I wanted to try to stay as true to Sabian as possible. So that's why I got this guy on the drum set right now. Over here is my 19-inch a Holy China. My favorite China. It's just so loud, cuts through everything, and it sounds exactly like what a China sounds like in your head. Like when you think of a China, like what does a China sound like? This guy sounds exactly like what you think it sounds like, and it's incredible. Over here are my 14-inch SR2 thin hi-hats, and these hi-hats I've had for a very long time now. A very long time, and you know they are my second favorite hi-hat. They used to be my favorite before I got the Monarch hats. And yeah, they're also incredible. They have a really nice they sound exactly like a hi-hat. Like if you bought a drum library pack, or even on like GarageBand, if you just like selected your like most generic hi-hat, that's what these sound like. But they're really loud, and they have a nice chick and a nice close and a nice open. They differ pretty differently from the Monarch hats, but I would like using these as the X hat right now, just open. Over here is my favorite crash that I have right now. This is a Sabian AAX thin 20-inch thin crash, and it's just perfect. It's a nice big size. It's not super brilliant, but it's not super dark. It's nice like medium, and it really cuts through. It's nice and loud, does everything I need it to. And yeah, it's always my go-to like ride crash or riding crash. This is a Sabian B8X 10-inch splash cymbal, and yeah, it's actually a really good splash for being so like low budget, and sounds like a splash. That's all I really gotta say about it. This is an 18-inch HHX thin crash all the way on my right. It's the highest pitch cymbal on the drum set. I kind of got this thing where it's like high, medium, high, low thing going on. And it's just a nice crash to have at the end as an accent cymbal. And I'm just going to show you guys the other cymbals I normally use. This is an AAX 18-inch thin crash. It's my favorite left-hand crash. Don't have it on the kit right now, though, because I just felt like spicing it up, doing something a little bit different. These two cymbals right here, for me, really go hand in hand. So I'll show them together. This is a 10-inch Sabian AAX Air Splash. I'm not really a big fan of this guy as a splash. It's just a little too trashy and just different. It doesn't splash. It's just like, you know, so it's definitely a really weird cymbal, and I always pair them up, putting them on top of my 12-inch AA Mini Holy China. So I will usually stack him up like this, and crank it down real tight, and it just sounds absolutely phenomenal. Definitely a really nice stack sound. Sometimes I'll put some tape on both of the cymbals to even get it tighter, but yeah, these guys sound great. Now I want to talk about my recording setup, because I never really went too in depth on that before. when this channel very first started, I was literally just taping my phone to the ceiling. And then in my last gear review, I still really wasn't using mics or anything like that. So this time, I will show you guys my gear. So let's start over at the hub where everything starts. My beautiful cabinet, which I'll get into a little bit later. But this is a Lenovo IdeaPad. It actually has been holding up really well. As far as a laptop goes for recording, it like almost never crashes, and I never really have any problems with it ever. It does everything I want it to. The DAW I use is Cubase Elements. It was like $50, and it is a great DAW. I actually really don't see myself upgrading, at least not upgrading in the near future, not until I have like a more serious studio. Yeah, this guy just does everything I could possibly want him to do. This is my brand new Presonus Studio 1824C interface that I got for Christmas, and yeah, 8-channel interface, and this guy is phenomenal. I've been doing some drum mixes and stuff. If you guys have been following me on Instagram, which is always linked in the description. And yeah, this thing just sounds absolutely phenomenal. I love it so much. It just sounds so good. And I love now having 8 channels, because before I was using a M Audio Fast Track Pro, which was also great. Like, I definitely would recommend that, but it only has 2 inputs, so I was never really able to get the sound that I wanted. I was just using my overhead and a kick drum mic, so that was very fun. Now I want to talk about my microphones, because I do use microphones now. So we'll start on the snare drum. So on the snare drum right now, I have an Audix F10. So all the microphones I have currently, I'm actually borrowing from my school, from my high school, because, shout out to Mr. Maxwell. He's a G and lets me borrow gear, and that's very lovely. Thank you so much. Because interface would be useless if I didn't have, him to let me borrow these microphones. So, quick story. I did have a Beta 57A for a snare drum mic, but I use it as a vocal mic at one of my school's programs, live shows, and I left it there. And I've been on winter break, so I haven't been able to go back and get it. So until I can go back to school and grab that and the Shure Beta 52A I was using on the kick drum mic, I'm using the Audix F10 on the snare drum, and then Audix F10s on the toms, which this microphone's kind of like whacked up. I don't know what's going on the toms. And they are actually, with a lot more mixing than I probably should have to do, they are giving me a really good sound so far. And then on the kick drum, like I said, I also left a kick drum mic there for one of the shows that we were doing. And because of that, I have to use an Audix F12, which is a floor tom mic on the kick drum. I'm not really getting the kick drum sound that I want because I'm not using a kick drum mic. Same thing with my snare drum, but you win some, you lose some, They're still getting me. I'm still really happy with the sound, because I can finally have all my drums close mic'd. It's incredible. The overheads I'm using, I have AKG Perception 420s, and these overhead mics are great. They just pick up everything I need in these large diaphragm condensers, and I can use them for many different purposes. They're really, really good microphones I like to use. And I've been using them ever since I learned how to record, basically. So there's that. To finish off the drum set, I'm going to talk about my drumsticks. I got a nice marching bag sitting on the front of my snare. And the drumsticks I use now It used to be Vater Fatback 3As, and before I used Thomas Lang signature drumsticks from Vic Firth. And even when I first started playing, I used Vic Firth 3As, but I wanted something a little bit bigger than a 3A, so I switched to Vater 5Bs, and I've been really happy with the feel. I mean, these things they don't feel like giant sausages in my hand, and they're not as big as like a marching drumstick, and they just feel really good in my hand. That's all I really got to say about that. All the hardware I have are Tama Road Pro Series, cymbal stands, auxiliary clamps, what have you. Except for this is Gibraltar X-Hat mount with a hi-hat clutch that I am not really sure where it came from. But I have it. I don't even know what brand's on it, to be honest. This is a Gibraltar like hi-hat drop clutch, which I like to use sometimes. I don't really use it in context very much, like in music, but I'm sure I will find a use for it someday. Right here, I have my Tama Speed Cobra 2-legged hi-hat stand. And then these are a new addition to the family. These are Pearl Eliminator Demon Drives with the chain link on the, or the direct drive link on them, my bad. And these are just, I thought I had it set with the 910s, but these pedals are just absolutely insane. I have them set up super loose right now. I do plan on tightening them in the future, but these guys are fast, smooth, and I can just get so many like more notes than I used to be able to get out. If I'm playing like a really quick like 4 or something like that, just like which I do in my band in a couple of our songs, and these really help just to get those notes out really quick. Danmar wood beaters, as always, rocking the Achilles Priester. And then I also have a Remo Flam Slam patch on the kick drum. So, forgot to mention that one too. The very next thing we're going to talk about is my monitoring system. So, I've been trying to work out an efficient monitoring system for gigs because my band wants to start running tracks. So, I've been trying to figure out an efficient monitoring system. And what I kind of came up with is I bought this Harbinger mixer for really cheap at Guitar Center. And basically what I do right now is I run out of one of the channels on my interface, and it comes all the way over here and goes into channel 1, and then boom, I got my levels right here. And that's basically how I monitor that. I come out of the headphones into this really long extension cable, which runs across my floor right now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really simple, but I'm still learning how to run backing tracks. But right now, I kind of got this system where I use this, and this plugs into my phone, and then left is click, and then right's the backing track. And then on the right backing track, I actually put it in a DI box that is going to go right here. But I need to buy a DI box first. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and run the backing track into the DI box, and then DI box gets sent to front of house. Front of house sends me a line. It's going to go into channel 1. So then I have click, and then channel 1, which is my in-ear system, house mix, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's how I'm going to be running tracks. And I know you guys can't see because I'm filming on it, but I do record all of my covers with a GoPro Hero 7 Black. This thing does great video. I'm recording with it right now, and I really recommend it to anybody who wants to make any video content. Yeah, thanks for watching my video, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one.